But this is a really tough one. And I know we say this, and we're not stupid. We know already, Sherrod. We saw this happen the last time when they played the Pacers and Haliburton goes out with the original hamstring injury, and the Celtics were up big and they pissed away a monster lead. So we saw it happen in one game. Fool me once, right? I don't think that's going to happen again.
No, I don't see that. If Haliburton is out, it's a wrap. It becomes a matter of when, not if, the series is over.
Exactly.
But to Bobby's point, they're not going to just roll over and just play dead. That's just not who they are. Now, they're not built that way. In this game, usually when the Celtics win a game like this, where there's in the playoffs, we've seen the other team have certain things that work well in defeat that they could build on, and I didn't see that in this game. I didn't see. No. I mean, Pascal Siakam. He's a former All-Star. This guy's won a championship, so him going off is nothing unusual. He's done that before. There wasn't anything that jumped out in this game near the end that makes you think that, man, if Indiana can do that one thing better, maybe they can make this a series. And that's a problem for them. Listen, when they blew game one, they blew the series. They absolutely blew the series because now they are going back home with zero margin for error, and you may very well be without your best player, and you're playing a team that is seemingly at their best on the road. So when you start looking at all the different factors and all the different analytic points that you can look at going into game three, it's looking more like this thing is going to be 3-0 by the end of this weekend in Celtics favor.
Yeah. I don't know what people want here. Like, do we want to say it's not over? Like, as you said,
it's not over, but it's a matter of when, not if.
This was a massive uphill challenge here for Indy to begin with. So again, we'll see what happens. Here's the thing: if something's bad enough for a guy to miss the rest of the game, almost immediately be ruled out, usually they don't come back one game later. And like I said, is you really don't have cushion here. If you can't get him back, you can't get him back by game three, you're in a lot of trouble.
And it felt that Rick Carlisle waved the white flag way earlier than his teams normally do. I mean, when all of a sudden, when I see Doug McDermott out there, I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I think most people forgot he was still in the league. And so he's out there playing, and you're like, damn, you're matching him up with Jaylen Brown. Indiana is in trouble. They came into this series, looking, in a whole world of trouble from the beginning. And the thing that the Celtics did in this game that we did not see as much of in the first game was they played hard. They had that stretch where Indiana could not score. And when they're locking up defensively the way they were able to for extended stretches against a team that's as offensively powerful as Indiana's in a world of trouble because you can't match that defensively because they're not built to defend. So Indiana, they're in a world of trouble. And if you're the Celtics, the good thing about this is not only are you moving through this series in as quick a time as possible, but it gives you a longer bandwidth, if you will, before the NBA Finals. Because that Dallas, Minnesota series, at least 6 or 7 games that thing is going to go. And that gives you more time to have no games without Porzingis for him to get healthy. And so that's, if you're the Celtics, this is working out about as good as you would want it to, with the lone exception being the play of Tatum. This was worse than game one.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Worse than game one. Because when he wasn't making shots, not only was he not making shots, he was getting cooked defensively. There was a graphic at one point where he was, I think, was 1 for 7, 1 for 8 shooting, and guys that he was defending were 5 for 7 when he was guarding them as a primary defender. If you're not making shots, that's one thing. Like, all great players have stretches like that. But when you're getting cooked defensively by a team like this, where the matchups that he had were matchups that, defensively speaking, were break even or in his favor. This was a bad game, even if the numbers looked otherwise.
Hey, how many times are you going to put this comment in the tweet before I ban you? Like, Jesus, stop spamming the chat. I said it was 7 before. Haliburton's out. Their best player's out. They pissed away game 1. The complexion of the series has changed dramatically. Dramatically. They had ropes and threw game 1 away, completely pissed it away, and now their best player got hurt. They're in deep trouble. They're reeling now. They're reeling. They really pissed it away.
Whatever number people
and
had
we
before
said
this
it after
game.
game 1. I think that really, we disagreed a little bit, right? And that I wasn't 100%, but it did feel like that kind of game where it's like, we'll never like, that was it, man. We knew it. That was our shot, and we just gave it to them. And when you've got to do a lot of things right and have things go your way when you're the Pacers and they're the Celtics, and you know that there's a big talent disparity there, and you just gave away game 1. I don't know if it had an effect in terms of how they came out and played, but you kind of know, like, shit, man, that we got problems. And again, like I said, you compound that with the Haliburton. I'm not really sure what they can do here. Look, we've seen the Celtics play down to their competition. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, we have. But I thought this was a game where Indiana, I thought they had a great game plan to start the game. They were right there with the Celtics throughout the first, led for a good chunk of the quarter. But one of the subtle things that we haven't talked about yet was Joe Mazzulla made game 2 adjustments from the outset.
Small ball.
Yeah, he went small ball, and maybe that had a little bit to do with Luke in the hand or the wrist injury, maybe. But even before that particular adjustment, the way that they utilized Al Horford and took Al off of Miles Turner and had him on Pascal, I thought was brilliant. Because remember, you look at this game, people are going to forget that in game 1, Miles Turner lit him up for 18 in the first half. Miles Turner was a non-factor this entire game. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Mazzulla made that subtle but very important adjustment on how you defended him, or specifically who you defended.
They did, and I think like a lot of what Turner got in that first game, they would live with also, So I think that's how it kind of went there. But Turner was really quiet, and you did see Tatum starting out on him, and they changed things up a little, but he was really ineffective all night. And then I think what kind of broke the Pacers a little bit is at the end of that third quarter when the Celtics went really small and the Pacers went really big. They had Turner, Toppin, and Siakam all out there in the front court, and the Celtics were small, and the Celtics started to distance themselves there, and that was kind of that. So, Joe made an adjustment in that regard as well, where he did go small ball, but he was kind of forced into it because Cornette went down. I don't know what's going to go on here with Luke. And whether that returns, but and I don't want to be happy about an injury, but I am glad that they did go to that lineup for a little bit there with the small ball, because you can against the Pacers. You can even do it with Turner out there. You really can.
Yeah, what I'm just still surprised at is that you literally have only one guy who knows that locker room intimately, and that's O'Shea Brissett. And that's the one guy that now your hand is almost forced to play him. And I don't think it was a coincidence that O'Shea in this game had the best plus minus on the Celtics roster. It was plus 18 in the 12 minutes that he was on the floor. And again, a lot of that, he didn't score a ton of points, but he knew where to be, when to be there, did a lot of really good things out there. And that was, again, one of the keys to this game for them is just getting guys in the right place at the right time, making the right plays. With the exception of Tatum, who first half, non-factor, second half, it's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Hey, Bowie Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.